Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here, and it's time for another edition of the YouOrns 10-minute take on West Bromwich Albion 2, Watford 2. And this game was played on Easter Monday. Watford, having come off their Good Friday game against Leeds United at the Vic, playing very well, their best performance of the season at Vicarage Road, bar the first couple of games they played there this season in the Championship. Watford raring to go then in this Easter Monday affair against the top six West Brom side, who they drew 2-2 against previously back in October or November of 2023 at the Vic. And in that game, Watford had to come from behind. And in this game, it was West Bromwich Albion who came from behind. But to the frustration of Watford fans everywhere, West Bromwich Albion had to come from 2-0 down because we played very well in the second half of this game, controlled possession well. I thought we were very fluid on the ball and off the ball. We had an idea of what our assignments were collectively as a team, and we were able to play the ball and hold possession in a way that showed control, confidence, and calmness. The composure of possession was what impressed me the most about this performance at the Hawthorns, a very difficult place to play. Place where West Bromwich Albion had lost just 3 games all season long in the championship. They have been stellar there, and that's why they are contending for the playoffs and will be in the playoffs when this season ends. But for Watford, this was a chance to build upon what Tom Cleverley has done so far in a very, very short time here as the interim boss of this men's first team. And look, Watford were playing very well in the second half of the game. As I said, they raced to a 1-0 lead with a really nice goal. Really good finish from Kayembe. It's the 17th time this season, by the way, the goal has been scored by Watford outside the 18-yard box. Edo Kayembe's strike was his, I believe, his fifth or sixth goal of the season that gave Watford the 1-0 lead outside the 18-yard box. A drilled shot straight past the goalkeeper. No chance for the keeper. 1-0 Watford. And Watford began to build on that. Tom Cleverley even made some subs. And at the time, I thought they were a little bit hasty, but Watford actually even doubled their lead not too long after those substitutions were made. And it was Rajovic scoring his first goal in months, giving Watford a 2-0 lead. And so Watford were in cruise control here. West Bromwich Albion, who had dominated the first 10 minutes of this game, really didn't have too much of a sniff after that. And in the second half, when Watford went up 2-0, you thought, well, we're home and hosed here. But throughout this game, there were telltale signs that that was not necessarily going to be the case. Watford, their defensive frailties, which we've seen time and time again throughout this season and previous campaigns, showed up again in this game. And Watford had some moments where they were very nervy in possession and very nervy defending, but particularly defending because they let West Bromwich Albion into the back door, through the back door, and it was Daniel Batman who kept West Bromwich Albion out with a number of saves. But eventually, they could not keep West Bromwich Albion out for the remainder of the game because West Bromwich Albion scored just around the 70th minute mark or whenever it was. It was less than 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes after Rajovic put us 2-0 to the good. And unfortunately, that goal that came about 5 or 6 minutes later was a really key goal for West Bromwich Albion. And really, it came out of nothing. Watford switching off, West Bromwich Albion firing home from around 12 yards just into a narrow angle past Daniel Bachmann to give the home side some hope. And that really turned this thing around. West Bromwich Albion turned on the Jets, kept pushing, kept pushing. Watford doggedly defended, but could not hold on because in injury time, West Bromwich Albion got the heartbreaking equalizer, a shot that came in and smashed home from a good distance from the right back, I think it was, who scored to give West Bromwich Albion a share of the points. And it was a deflating result for us. We really should have done a lot better in our defensive shape and composure in those key moments. I mean, generally speaking, I thought we neutralized West Brom through large parts of this contest, particularly after those first 10 minutes that West Bromwich Albion dominated us. But again, there were these telltale moments where we didn't cover our defensive assignment properly. We allowed for that ball to get inside of our defense. We allowed for them to go down our flanks too easily at times, and we got caught napping. And that's a critical thing. We cannot afford to do. And what I've noticed lately from Watford, this men's first team, is the conceding of late goals in games. Now, it didn't really happen so much under Val Ismail. There were a couple of games, though, where it did toward the end of his tenure. And I also think about the game against Southampton in the FA Cup at the Vic back in January, where we were literally around 7 or 8 minutes away from advancing to the next round. But again, we had a defensive mistake and we had Emmanuel Dennis come into the game at that point, and it allowed for an equalizer to be scored in the 87th or 88th minute of that contest. And of course, we know what happened in the replay. So there are now, and I've seen it under Tom Cleverley here as well, whether it was the game on Friday, on Good Friday, where we were on our way, I thought, to a famous victory against Leeds. We have now begun this bad habit again of conceding late. In the game against Leeds, a goal came around the 80th minute or so, whenever it was, 83rd minute. And Watford were literally looking as if they were going to get to the finish line of that game. And now, in the space of 4 days, again, a late goal that's really hurt us in this contest. And, I think that Watford are going to have to really learn from this. And I think this game that was played on Easter Monday will prove to be a valuable lesson for this side. And I think Tom Cleverley and the coaching staff will drill down on this for the lads in preparation for their next game, because this was a really difficult equalizer. Watford were literally on the line of getting this one done and just couldn't get it done, which again has been something that we've seen a number of times over the last few years for us. And I think it's just critical now that this team, with these 6 games remaining that Watford have, to just focus on the footballing fundamentals. I think they've been doing that a lot better in recent days and in recent weeks. But the fundamentals now of defending are going to be more and more paramount as we get to the end of this campaign. So Watford must must stay cohesive defensively and must stay resilient and defend as a team in these critical moments in these games. Yes, people make mistakes. Yes, there are issues with switching off, but defending and being compact, which Watford were for most of this game, has to be employed for the full 95 or 96 minutes, not just for, the periods that count in a game. Every period counts in the game. And Watford have to make their defending count at every moment because, again, this West Bromwich Albion side is a difficult side to deal with. And for us to be up 2-0 against this lot and be on the road and be up 2-0 is something that we've got to make the most of on these away trips. So that's a very key thing I want to bring out. There are some positives. Positives are TDB, another excellent game from him. He was magnificent today, by the way, in this game on Good Friday, excuse me, Easter Monday, pardon me. And I think that he had a terrific 2 games here under Tom Cleverley, these last 2 at least. He's been sensational, and his improvement has been a fantastic, fantastic plus for us during this very difficult and quite miserable season. I also like the way that the lads played overall for the most part. Wesley Hook came back into the side, I thought was effortless as usual, doing what he does best. And look, I think most Watford fans are probably going to vote him as their player of the season, although I would pick Ben Hamer because I just think during that stretch for Watford, he was critical, and I think that he was really marvelous in what he was doing. But again, I think that Wesley Hook is probably going to end up being now, according to the Watford FC fan base, the player of the campaign. Again, I would like to know who your player of the season is. There's people you can choose from, like Tom Dele-Bashiru, if you were so inclined to pick him as your player of the season because of his real improvement and fighting back through adversity and getting back into the side and becoming an everyday starter in this side. You could pick Wesley Hook, you could pick Ben Hamer, maybe you might pick another Watford player. But the bottom line is that we just did not get this one over the line as we should have. Ido Kayembe played well in this game as well. I noted his goal. Rajovic got his goal as well. But overall, unfortunately, we didn't get those 3 points. So Anyway, we'll try again to do that in the next contest. Again, 6 games to go in this long and miserable season. But I guarantee, I think Watford will learn, I think, from the failure of the game against West Bromwich Albion, and we will kick on. But look, 3 games under Tom Cleverley and 3 games unbeaten. And listen, you can't go wrong there with that kind of record. Yes, we could have had more points on the board, but look, when you consider the fact that we now are unbeaten under this new manager, I really do think it's time to take the interim tag off of Tom Cleverley and start him as our manager for next season. That would be, I think, a statement of some kind of intent. And certainly, I think will get a lot of the Watford faithful behind this manager, and they already are looking, judging by the crowd at the Hawthorns in the game on Easter Monday. I think that Tom Cleverley is absolutely, well, a big time fan favorite right now as the manager. This has been the YouOrns 10-minute take.